Frame is not some bullshit term that pickup artists came up with, or even it's not even I did not coin frame. That's actually a psychology, sociology reference. And I will say that a lot of the old school PUAs from the mid 2000s actually picked up on that, but they didn't create the idea of frame. The idea of frame is who has the authority in one particular context. So who is basically setting the nature of the conversation. I'll give you. It's real easy to understand frame from the position of a child. Okay, so if a child is 100% dependent upon its parents for food and for clothing and keeping a roof over his head, those children are in their parents' frame, and they will be for quite some time, right? Even after they're gone and adults, sometimes they're still in their parents' frame, because that's just they might have overbearing, domineering mothers, or they might have a very sort of authoritative father. But the idea of frame is who's the authority in the context between two or more people. Okay, so when you go to work, if you're working 9 to 5 job, and you're there for 9 hours, right? You are in the frame of your employer. So whoever your boss is, whoever your supervisor is, you are for the duration of that day, you are basically selling your time for their money, and you have agreed to work within their frame. Same thing with the military. If you are in the military, you are in whoever your commanding officer's frame is at that time. So it's who is setting the narrative, who is the authority figure in that thing, whose world are you entering into? And we might enter into multiple frames per day. Right. So, for instance, when I was young, and I have a younger brother, we were always in my dad's frame because my dad was very authoritarian, and like I was saying before, my dad would give us the look. He'd be like, if we were misbehaving or we were fucking around, my dad would just give us that look, and we knew that fucking hell was coming if we didn't shape up, right? And we learned that because we were punished for it, because we were living in my father's frame. And when we saw that look, that's what we understood, right? So, but it's not something that we're even most times consciously aware of. Now, when you take frame and you refer to interpersonal relationships, like you and a girlfriend, or you and a chick that you just met, you can be in your frame with a woman that you just met at a club, or vice versa. Most guys defer to the woman's frame because they feel that they've been brought up that's how I got to be nice to her. I gotta impress her. I gotta do all these things for her. I gotta jump through these hoops. I have to qualify for her affection. I have to qualify for her intimacy. I have to qualify for just even her fucking attention. And this is how I do it. Most guys are already what I call pre-whipped, meaning that they're already whipped by a girlfriend that they don't even have. And why? Because they have it as part of their operating system, their starting package, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to defer to that woman's authority. Whatever she says goes. And she has a woman's prerogative, which is to change her mind at any time. And so the idea of frame being set from the get-go as being the female correct way of doing things. That's another reason why the female experience right now is the one that defines us socially and interpersonally right now, is because guys default and think that it's the right thing to do to defer to a woman's authority, to defer to her frame. So when guys go like, oh, well, Rollo, I lost the frame. I was with my wife or my girlfriend, right? And then I got married. And then right after I got married, I lost the frame. How do I get it back? 9 times out of 10, you didn't have frame to begin with. You just simply didn't. You think you did because the nature of your relationship has changed. And people want to refer to frame as being something that's something that they presume that they had, or they had more power, they had more maneuverability when they were single, which is correct. But they most likely didn't have actual psychological frame because they were still like a simp. Like we talked about, I think this is probably one of the most genius things that I've ever heard come out of Tristan Tate's mouth, but a simping is an unequal exchange of value between a man and a woman. So when we talk about simping, the default understanding is that the guy who is the simp is in the frame of the woman he is simping for. And so he will find novel ways to overextend himself and to give more value than she is willing to reciprocate, if she reciprocates anything at all. So when we talk about simping is another really easy example of an unequal frame. Right? So an unequal exchange of value is the guy's giving, and she might give a little bit back. There's also a concept that Royce came up with, Roissy. It's Heartiste, really, Heartiste.org. And the idea is it's in the 16 Commandments of Poon. I'll dig it up for you. Actually, I think I'll go get that real quick, because this is actually a pretty good read. Where'd it go? It's called the Heartiste.org. Okay, this is from his. Can I read? Come on, give it to me, baby. Oh, I think I spelled it wrong. HEARTISTE.org. There we go. There we go. Okay, I just spelled it wrong. Okay, so this is from the 16 Commandments of Poon. I know it's commandments. There's a great commandment in here. These are just like laws. These are kind of like Royce's Iron Rules of Tomassi, or Iron Rules of Royce. Everybody kind of did this back in the day. This is from it's like 2007 or 2009. You know, I'll just put this up on screen even. There we go. Okay, we can see that. All right, so this is from the 16 Commandments of Poon. You can find that at heartiste.org. It's at the very top tab. It's the 16 Commandments of Poon. There's one that's on here that I think is really cool. It's called, okay, so number 5 is adhere to the golden ratio. This is specifically related to frame, okay? Give your woman 2/3 of everything she gives you. For every 3 calls or texts, give her 2 back. 3 declarations of love, earn 2 in return. 3 gifts, 2 nights out. Give her 2 displays of affection and stop until she has answered with 3 more. When she speaks, you reply with fewer words. When she emotes, you emote less. The idea behind the golden ratio is twofold. It establishes your greater value by making her chase you, and it demonstrates that you have the self-restraint to avoid getting swept up in her personal dramas. Refraining from reciprocating everything she does for you in equal measure instills in her the proper attitude of belief in your higher status. In her deepest loins, it's what she truly wants. I love when it's poetic like that. So that's from the 60 Commandments. That's number 5, by the way. And really, I can't really think of a better, like you asked me, like, give me some examples, or how do I get the frame back? Adhere to the golden mean, my friend, the laws of 2/3. So for every 2 acts of kindness, she has to respond with 3. There has to be that. Essentially what you need is her to simp to you. Okay, an unequal exchange of value, but there's still value being exchanged. You're still connected. It's not that you're not being a dickhead about it, but you're not being 100% like tit for tat, right? It's not this even thing. And as I said, or as Royce was saying, is that's a really good way to establish an acknowledgement of higher value, of higher status. Right? So those are a few ways that you can do that. But let's see if I want to make sure I answer everything you had on here. How men lose their frame in a relationship? Well, they lose frame because they get comfortable. Like here's the thing that gets me is like guys will get into a relationship and they'll just think they can put everything on cruise control. And that's one of the things I've seen, probably the most consistent thing I've ever seen with guys that I've worked with in the past. I will help them sort of get back on their feet, like from being zeroed out, or like they'll be with like some really just shrew of a woman. They'll break up with her. I'll teach them just a little bit of social skills, just a little bit of game, whatever. And they go out and they do it, right? And then they start to think differently. They start to see success in their personal lives and their personal situations. And what happens is they get maybe 3 months in, maybe 6 months in, and then they meet the one. Then they meet the girl of their dreams, the girl that they could never have gotten prior to all of this. And they think that that's when the blue pill kind of conditioning seeps back in. And that's when they go, okay, Rollo, I got it from here. Thanks, man. Everything's set. I'll see you later. Look, I got this gorgeous chick. We'll be over here. See you later. Bye, man. And they never stop to understand why they're successful. And they never really think about, like, it's easy to learn from our failures. What did you do wrong? Okay, I did this. And you'll learn more from your failures than you will from your successes, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? So, so they'll go off and say, okay, I'll see you later. And then sure shit, like 6 months later or a year later, they'll come back to me, Rollo, everything's fucked. She got pregnant. I can't believe it. I'm screwed. Like I didn't know what to do. I lost her. She went off with some other dude, and she was a narcissist. She was like using me for sex. Get the fuck out of here. But the reason why is because they're like, okay, I got it from here. No problem, man. I'll see you later. Bye. And like, no, wait. No, we need to talk about how you were successful. No, I got it. Thanks, man. She's on the phone. I got to talk to her now. No. So how do you lose frame? You lose frame by getting comfortable. You lose frame by having an incomplete like picture of what frame is. Frame is the world your world that you want women want to be associated with, right? As I said, the definition of a high value guy. What is that? Being the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. Okay. Well, for you to be either of those things, you have to have a world into which those people want to enter. You have to have this, like Mike's really good at this. Mike probably explained this better than I can, but for instance, let's use Mike Sartain as an example. My favorite example. Okay. 40, well, at the time he was 46, he's 47 now. But when he was 45, 46 years old, that's when he met Kylie, right? And Kylie's 21, 22 years old, fucking smoke show. Everybody who's seen Kylie, no, you cannot disagree with me. And so like people go, well, it'll never work. Well, and maybe it didn't, but like they'll be like, why? But why would a woman who is 22 years old want to get with a guy like Mike? Well, because Mike has a world into which women want to enter. When Mike starts talking about how women are attracted to status, and women Mike is really big on status, right? Women fuck you because of your status. Now, I'm of the opinion that looks play a very strong role in that, but then I make the case that being like really, really ridiculously good looking is status. It's its own form of status, right? So if you walk into a room and everybody else is fat and you look like fucking Henry Cavill, that's status. You're the only motherfucker that looks like that. So yes. So when we're talking about looks, like looks definitely play a role. By the way, I'm never going to be the guy that says looks don't matter. Looks fucking matter. And they aren't the only thing on the list, but they're like at the very top of the list. Okay. If there's like, okay, there's 4 elements that get you laid. What number 1 is? Looking good. Okay. Being in shape, being ripped, having facial symmetry. I will never tell you that looks don't matter. Okay. Oh, Rollo's going black pill. No, I'm not going black pill. I've said this from day fucking 1. Jesus Christ. Oh, he finally agrees with us. Oh. No. You know why I say no? Because you're unfamiliar with my first book. There's like at least 2 or 3 chapters in there where they say, well, looks. In fact, the chapter's titled "Looks Count." How do I explain this in any different way, please? Yes, looks make a difference. And then I have another book. Have another chapter in there called "Have a Look," because even if you have good looks, you still have to have a theme to it. So you can be the best looking dude in the world, and if you like walk in and you're in fucking like Dockers and penny loafers and you get a nice sensible polo shirt or button down, whatever, and you look like everybody else in the room, you don't have a look. You need you got to go goth, you got to be tribal, you got to go fucking rockabilly, you got to be metal, I don't know, whatever your shit is, a jock, I don't care what it is. Like, you have to have a thing, you have to have a look. Women are like casting directors. They need a particular character for that fucking night is what they're looking for, and if you happen to be that character, then they're down with it, right? So people go, how come Rollo always dresses up like a pirate all the time? Or like, because somebody once told me that dress for the job you want. I want to be a pirate now. I have a look, man. I have people have seen, you know, it's funny is when people go and they look at my old videos, like when I was on the 21 convention, I was fucking heroin thin back then, heroin chic. And I did not have long hair. I had my whitish gray hair, and it was military buzz cut for the longest time, and that was my look for a while, because that was my corporate look that I kept doing for a long time. And people, you know, I when I was in my 20s, I had the rock star thing. I had my hair long from the time I was 14 years old until I was about 29, 30. And that's when I had to get serious because I had a kid on the way. So, and then I changed my look up, right? And then I went from that to my what I call my Frank Underhill look. That was my Frank Underhill years, when I used to work for the casinos, and I used to work for international game technology. And it's like, you know, yeah, knock on the table kind of thing. And it was I used to wear like 3-piece suits. I had you know, my hair was like, again, it was military buzz cut. And then I didn't need to do those things anymore, and I could look however the fuck I wanted to. But I wasn't really kind of like concerned with like portraying myself as like sort of a character at that point. So I didn't even really think about it. And then when I realized my mom was probably not going to last more than a couple more years on this earth, it was in I remember the day my mom was in 2018, and my mom said, "Will you grow your hair out again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I could. I wasn't working for anybody; it was about myself." And so I really want to see you with long hair before I die, right? And so I'm like, okay. And I got so much shit for it too, because like there's always the awkward in between phase where it's just like kind of tickling your fucking neck, right? If you're a dude with your like you got hair that's like right here, there's absolutely nothing you could do. That's when I started wearing beanies, by the way. Was if you look at the 21 convention talks that I did in 2017 and 2018, I didn't wear a beanie. I don't really. So I started wearing beanies because I couldn't do anything with my hair. And then by that time I started doing shows like Fresh and Fit, and I started doing these other shows and everything. And then so the look stuck. So I was like, oh, he must be bald. Dude, there's pictures of me on fucking Instagram right now with my hair. Go stroke off all you want to my luxurious locks. Why don't you just take it off right now? Well, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I'm not bald, but I'm thinning, yes. But I'm like, you know what's going to be funny is I told Joe Marin, I said, when I decide to cut my hair, I'm going to let Joe be the guy that like shaves my head. We'll do it on video. Like I'll just sit in the chair and I'll let him just shave it off, like, because he's military, right? So I'll just let him do it, and then we'll make a thing out of it. But just so people won't lose their fucking shit. Oh, see, I always knew he was bald. No, I'm not. So we're gonna do the video when the time comes. I'm not ready for it yet. I'm still in a band. So hopefully that helps. How do you rebuild frame? I think probably the best way to rebuild frame is to understand whether you had it or you don't. Understand that frame is the world into which that woman wants to be a part of. So did you lose frame? Or does your wife or your girlfriend just simply don't want to be a part of your world anymore because she realizes that your world is fake? Your world is built. You built a house on a foundation of sand. I think that those are questions that you need to ask yourself. Is your frame actually authentic? And is your frame so valuable that she wants to be a part of that? Remember when people say like familiarity breeds contempt? Yes, it does. And you know why? Because people like your wife, like, you want to know why a lot of couples really get sick of each other. They stay together, but they're like fucking sick. They resent each other. And guys will say, well, it's cheaper to keep her. And women will say, well, I'm too fat to get another guy anymore. So I guess I'll stick it out with this schmuck. It's because you haven't lost frame. It's just like you have this mutual contempt for one another, right? Can you do something to change that? Yes, but you have to start it slow. You've got to. The way that you recapture frame is by improving yourself, improving your frame, like whether that's you go and write a new book. That's where you get to usually it's go to the gym, look better. You have to be somebody that your girlfriend or your wife has to understand your value through a third party. And the only way that happens is if a third party wants to enter your frame. Most of the time, guys who have like really solid frame, it's because they are genuinely, authentically valuable. And women want to be a part of that. Men want to be them, women want to fuck them. If it ever becomes any kind of doubt about that, that's usually when you lost frame.